Washington mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
7:37 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. Coming up at 8:35, we're going to be joined by Representative Louis Gohmert from Texas. He'll be on the line with us. I am Larry O'Connor, alongside Dan Bongino, who is filling in for Brian Wilson, who's on vacation.
Yes,
Thank you, Dan. Good morning.
Good morning, Larry.
And we have on the line right now Maryland Delegate Jolene Ivey. Of course, she represents Prince George's County there in Annapolis. And by the way, Delegate Ivey will take your calls at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. We're talking about the hot topic this week in Annapolis, which is driver's license for illegal immigrants. This was passed in the Senate earlier this week in a 20-18 vote. It's now being taken up in the House of Delegates. And Delegate Ivey, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Well, thank you. I would like to say that most people call them undocumented immigrants, not illegal. They're still human beings, so we'll try to stick with undocumented.
Well, thank you. Just so you know, and it's funny, we've had this conversation on the air before, and I know that people use the term illegal as a pejorative when they call a person an illegal. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is these are immigrants to our nation who either illegally entered the country or they illegally stayed in the country beyond their legal rights, and that's why we refer to it as illegal immigration. I'm not certainly using it as a pejorative against a human being.
I got you.
Thank you. So you have said that you believe that this is a safety issue, that the reason that you want to allow for these driver's license to, as you call them, undocumented workers. Why is that? How is this a safety issue?
Well, this is absolutely a safety issue for all of us who are out on the road. Anyone who is driving right now, you want to be pretty sure that they have taken the driver's test. You want to know that everybody on the road has passed a driving test and is someone who, if the police officer should need to pull them over, is able to produce a driver's license. That way the police officer knows the person who they've pulled over, and they're not having to take themselves off the road in order to arrest this person. Because whenever a police officer makes an arrest, for whatever reason, that police officer is off of the street for a number of hours just to process that arrest. So it's much better if people are able to be sure that people on the roads are likely to have a license and not have to take police officers off the street just for that kind of a ticket.
Delegate Ivey, you know, of course, that having a driver's license is a privilege in the state of Maryland, and it's something that so many people strive for and are excited about and hopeful for getting. I wonder, do you believe, just on a broad basis, should there be any legal ramifications for people who enter and stay in this country against the law?
That is really not my issue, to tell you the truth. I'm a state delegate, and I'm trying to pass laws to make our state safe.
Oh, I know, but I'm just asking you philosophically.
If I run for Congress, I will make that consideration.
So you have never thought about it? You don't have a position on it?
I think that my position is our laws change so frequently that it is hard to say who would have come here legally under other circumstances. I think that the Native Americans who were on the shore who welcomed those who came here on the Mayflower, they could have had laws then that said that those people were illegal. Do you see what I mean? Laws change all the time.
So you think the Pilgrims were illegal immigrants?
I think it is possible. I mean, it just all depends
Well, they were really just undocumented colonists.
There you go. They were undocumented colonists. But that is my point, that the laws change so much over the years. There are years that we've had that just hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people have come here from Ireland, for example. And I don't know what the laws were then, but I think that at that point, we probably had a different mindset about it.
Okay. Well, Delegate, this is Dan Bongino. Thanks for joining us today. You brought up the safety issue, and I'm afraid here there may be some first-order reasoning, but you're forgetting the second-order effects. You know, having been a 16-year law enforcement officer with the Secret Service and the NYPD, have you considered the fact that by issuing driver's licenses to illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants, you know, my wife is an immigrant herself, so I'm very sensitive to both sides of this. Have you considered the effect that you may incentivize people to come here, including MS-13 gang members that have a very serious illegal immigration problem amongst that community themselves? You may incentivize people to come here who would have maybe not come to this specific state because the rules were a little more harshly enforced. I mean, have you thought about that?
Well, I have thought about the fact that in this particular bill, those MS-13 members, they'd have to come file Maryland tax forms. 2 years. They would have to file taxes.
How do you do that without a Social Security number?
It is very possible. Look into it. So people who file their taxes for 2 years are then able to...
Well, if one of them comes here and happens to do a home invasion and break in and rob a house and maybe cause some physical harm, God forbid, to someone... do you guys then take responsibility for that if a driver's
only
license?
If you're asking me to take responsibility for all the other hoodlums who are here and born here and do the same.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're a lawmaker. You do have some responsibility to consider the second-order effects of legislation that, you endorse.
So you're telling me that people who've come here and worked and filed taxes 2 years in a row are going to be your home invaders? Come on.
No, that's not what I said. That's what you said.
No, that's what you're telling me.
I'm saying you
need to take responsibility for these people who are going to come here, work, file taxes for 2 years, apply for a driver's license, take the test, and pass it.
I don't refer to them as these people either.
I'm just saying, okay,
yeah. All right.
that the individuals who are going to be committing crimes like that are unlikely to be filing taxes.
All right. The people of your state want to chime in, or our listeners, I should say, want to chime in. Let's just start with Sue in Damascus. Hey, Sue, you're on with Delegate Jolene Ivey.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I've been working behind the scenes with a lot of people in the House and the Senate to try to stop this very, very dangerous bill. One of the questions I wanted to bring to light to the delegate, because maybe she doesn't realize, but on 9/11, had we not been so lax with our driver's licenses and IDs here in Maryland, a 9/11 terrorist named Hani Hanjour would not have been able to board American Airlines Flight 77.
All right, Sue, thank you. Yeah, what about that, Delegate Ivey? When you have a driver's license, you have access to a whole lot. It's more than just driving a car.
Well, not in this case, because this driver's license says on its face, just as the two-tier license that we already provide, it already says it's not eligible for federal purposes. So you would not be able to get on a plane with it.
Okay,
you would not be able to get in a federal building, so that's silly.
Great, there's that answer. And Lenny in Calvert County, because I do like to get the people involved as much as possible. Lenny, you're on with Delegate Ivey.
Yes, just want to mention to the delegate that an individual that was illegal, I call the term illegal. There are illegal immigrants that came here illegally. That's the first point. The second point is that individual that killed someone head on did not have insurance, did not have a driver's license as far as I'm concerned. Now, what happens when you give them a driver's license? Your thinking is they will stick around after the accident. My thinking is they are illegal. They would flee.
Yeah, what about that, Delegate Ivey?
Well,
just because they have a license, does that mean they're going to not be a hit and run?
No, exactly. This bill actually does a lot to address that exact problem. I'm so glad that you brought it up because, number one, people who have driver's licenses are much more likely to have car insurance, and that's a real big reason why I'm supporting this bill. I think that it's really important that everybody have car insurance.
Well, I'm not sure. How do you get insurance without a Social Security number? That's what I'm confused about.
Well, I guess you need to look into it because people are driving right now today with a second-tier driver's license who don't have a Social Security number. They also have car insurance.
All right, Delegate Ivey, we have to roll here, unfortunately.
Also, wait a minute.
Oh, yep.
If I could just answer the second part of his question.
Oh, quickly,
if you have a driver's license, you're less likely to flee the crime because that's half the reason they're leaving. And they shouldn't leave. Absolutely not. But if you
but what if they're afraid of being deported?
Well, they don't have to be worried about a whole lot of things if they have a driver's license.
Wait, how is this going to keep them from being deported? I mean, aren't they going to flee because they know they're here illegally?
It doesn't keep them from being deported, but it does reduce the chance of them fleeing. Hit and runs decrease substantially when people have driver's licenses.
All right, Delegate Ivey, we're going to have to leave it at that. I really do appreciate you coming on, especially taking calls, and you're welcome back anytime you'd like.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You too. We're going to continue with this.